The origins of the Inquisition can be traced to France from the 12th century, where the different heresies within Christianity abounded, such as the Waldensians and the Cathars, who moved away from the official Catholic Church and criticized the ostentatious nature of their leaders. In 1184, Pope Lucio III promulgated the Ad Abolendam normative, declaring heretics to all these groups who consciously and voluntarily denied the truths of the faith of the Church, while still being baptized and inciting the bishops to investigate and persecute them. It was the prelude to the birth of the Pontifical Inquisition, as a result of the normative Ex Communicamus by Pope Gregory in 1231, where the Church would lead this process of applying penalties to heretics and being able to take their possessions. A few years later, in 1252, torture would be accepted as a method of pressure to obtain a confession and thus find the heretics, that is, the deviants of the official Church, and also Jews, blasphemers, or witches. Some of the most prominent and macabre tortures were: the garrucha, or rope, would be tied to the hands of the suspect behind his back, and he would be lifted by the wrists several meters from the ground by a system of pulleys. After that, he would be dropped without touching the ground, being disjointed from the shake. If he did not confess, his arms and legs would be broken until he died. The potro, the prisoner was tied by hands and feet on a table. The ropes of the feet would be wound around a rotating wheel, and each time this wheel turned, the limbs would be stretched until they even reached the dismemberment. The pera, an instrument in the shape of a pear, would be inserted into the victim's mouth, vagina, or anus, depending on the accusation. Oral to heretic preachers, vaginal to witches, and anal to passive homosexuals. That pear inside would be opened with a screw, mutilating the cavities. The saw, one of the most brutal, was reserved for women accused of witchcraft and of being pregnant with Satan himself. They were hung upside down with the anus open, and with a saw, they cut it until it reached the belly. They did not seek torture so much to confess, but to end his life, and with the supposedly demonized fetus. The thumb press was a simple metal tool where the fingers of the hands and feet were inserted, and they were destroyed by turning some screws. The water consisted of covering the convict's nostrils, and then a kind of funnel was introduced in the mouth where they made him ingest large amounts of water. This caused a severe feeling of suffocation, and they used to die of stomach rupture. Judas's cradle. This torture consisted of raising the prisoner with a system of ropes and pulleys and dropping him on a sharp wooden pyramid with enough precision for him to fall and the device to tear his anus, the scrotum, or the vagina. The Iron Maiden is one of the most cruel tortures, although it is thought that it was not very common. It was a sarcophagus in the shape of a human body with metal spikes inside, which were nailed to the body to bleed it out little by little. In the dark history of humanity, the practices of torture and persecution have left an indelible mark. From the cruel techniques of the Inquisition to the macabre inventions used to inflict suffering on those considered heretics or enemies of the established order, our history is full of unimaginable atrocities.